Okay, hi and welcome to lesson 4 now of this first week of maths. Now, what we are doing in today's lesson is we are looking at tenths and hundredths. Now, this is a really, really important lesson, and this is going to help us with our work next week as well, when we're going to be looking at decimals. Now, decimals are new to some of us, depending on how many extensions and things you did in year 4 last year. So this is a really important lesson to make sure that we understand fractions and decimals, the relationships between them, especially related to tenths and hundredths. And if that's something that you're not familiar with, you can always go away and use those Khan Academy links or YouTube links that you find to do a bit of research on this before next week if you want to. But hopefully this lesson will make you or help you understand that. So firstly, as always, you have your arithmetic. Please pause the video now, spend 3 to 5 minutes working on these 3 problems. And this is the last one for this week. So once you've done that and you've done the test, either if you've done the test already, or if you're going to do the test tomorrow or later today or whatever, that's absolutely fine. But just try and submit all of the arithmetic plus the test, obviously, by the due date on Friday if you are able to. So pause the video now and have a go at these questions. Okay, welcome back. Having a quick look again at our key vocabulary for this week. Tenths here and hundredths here we need to be aware of. Okay, now we've talked about tens and hundreds. 10, when we talk about, say, the number 352, we talk about having 3 hundreds and 5 tens. That is not what we're talking about at the moment. What we are talking about is things which are smaller than 1, less than 1. So we're dealing with small parts, fractional parts. Okay, so hopefully that will become clear as we go on through the lesson. Okay, what I want to do is have a look at this bead string. Okay, this bead string has 100 beads on it. Now, without counting each individual one, if I told you that it has 100 beads on it, and it's split into 10 equal parts, how many parts is one red section? How many parts is that one red section? Well done if you identified it as 10. So each of the different coloured sections always has 10. So 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 and 100. So 100 beads in total. Okay, if the whole bead string then has a value of 1, what is the value of one bead? So it's less than 1. This number is going to be, the answer is going to be, well, how many equal parts has it been split into? It's been split into 100 equal parts. So each bead has a value of 1/100th. 1/100th. Moving on then, if the whole bead string has a value of 1, what is the value of the 10 beads there? Well, we could say it's 10 hundredths, which is absolutely correct, or we could say it's 1/10, because we know it's been split into 10 sections, red, white, red, white, red, white, red, white, red, white, 10 sections. And so one of those is 1/10. So here is how we represent some of these fractions that we're talking about. So tenths are represented as a number, a numerator over 10. So if it was 1/10, one segment there, we would represent it as 1/10, 1/10. And if we were just talking about one little bead there out of the 100 beads, it's 1 out of the 100 beads. So it's been split into 100 equal parts. I'm identifying just one of them. So it's 1/100th. that is stuff that you should have already known from year 4. So we are going to move on to make that, to move that learning on just a little bit now. So what I want us to do is think about what fractions are equivalent here. So you can see my bead string here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 sections, snaking round like that. And I've put a line here halfway down the beads, halfway down the bead string. So that half is equal in size to that half. There are the same amount of beads on each side. Now, can you tell me how many tenths 1/2 is equal to? Well, there are, of course, a number of ways we can do this. We can count the tenths. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And say, okay, there are 5 tenths. Or, remembering our learning from yesterday, we can say, well, I'm looking for equivalent fractions. I can see the equal sign. I'm looking for equivalent fractions. So whatever I've done to the bottom, the denominator, I must do to the top, the numerator. And if you you can see you've multiplied this by 5. So you also need to multiply this by 5. Use that same logic, please, to try and identify how many hundredths 1/2 is equal to. Okay, well done if you identified that it's equal to 50. Now, there are a number of ways we can do that, of course. We could count every single bead up to the halfway mark. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm not going to do that. That's not an efficient use of my time. I could go, okay, well, I know that there's 10 beads there. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 beads. So 50 out of the 100. Or again, what I could do is identify that I've multiplied this number by 50 to get from 2 to 100. So I multiplied this number by 50. 1 multiplied by 50 is 50. So 50 over 100. We could use the same thought process for a quarter. Now, can you see my quarter mark here? It has split one of the tenths in half, hasn't it? So I'm not talking about equal lots of tenths now. So I cannot easily turn a quarter into a fraction over 10. But I can still turn it into a fraction over 100. See if you can work out what would be an equivalent fraction to 1/4 if I expressed it as a fraction over 100. Okay, well, again, there are a number of ways we could do it. We could count all of the beads. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't like to do that because it's not an efficient use of my time. So what I could do is I could say, okay, I know there's 10. There's 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's 25 of the 100 beads are equal to a quarter. Okay, here is time for you to have a little stop and read the questions and see if you can work out how to express these questions as fractions. So just pause the video now and have a go at doing those. Okay, welcome back. Hopefully you are able to have a go at this, hopefully with someone, but if not, on your own. Here is this bead string. Again, exactly the same bead string, and it's got 100 beads and they're split into tens. So 60 of the beads is this group here, the group identified by this red line. So if the whole bead string has a value of 1, how could I express that as a fraction? Well, there are a couple of ways. I could say that it's 60 out of the 100, so 60 1/100ths. I could also say that it's 6 of the sections out of the 10 sections, so 6 over 10, 6 tenths. So those are the two ways I could express that amount of beads as a fraction. So either 60 over 100, 60 hundredths, or 6 over 10, 6 tenths. Exactly the same with this bottom one, or not exactly the same actually, almost the same. Now this time I'm looking at 43 beads. So I cannot express this as a number of tenths, because I'm not just dealing with the groups of 10. I'm dealing with groups of 10, and I've got this little remainder of 3 here. So it doesn't equally divide into 10. So what I have to do is represent this as a number of hundredths. So how many of the 100 beads have I identified, and how would I express that as a fraction? Well, I've identified 10, 20, 30, 43 beads, tells me in the question there. So I'd express that as 43 over 100. Okay, here is a little bit of another thinking task or talk task for you to do. Now, what I want to do first is try and do something which I'm hoping is going to help us understand this a little bit easier. So here, what I can do is I'm going to show you how to convert, which means change, fractions when they are, for example, 3/5 into tenths or into hundredths. Okay, and what I want to do when I'm ordering fractions is try and put them all over the same number. So I want all fifths or all tenths or all hundredths. So this is going to really help me with that. So remembering what we learnt about last lesson, I've got 3/5 and I'm trying to find the equivalent fraction as a number of tenths. Well, can you identify what I've done from 5 to get to 10? Well done if you identified that I multiplied it by 2. I made it 2 times greater. So remembering, whatever I do to the bottom, I must do to the top. So I'm going to multiply this by 2 as well. How many tenths am I going to get? Well done if you worked out the answer is 6 tenths. Well done. Now, how could I express that as a number of hundredths? Well, again, I need to identify what I've done to the denominators. What have I done to the denominators here to get from 10 to 100? Well done if you identified that I've multiplied it by 100. I've multiplied it by 100. Whatever I do to the denominator, I must do to the numerator. So I'm going to multiply that by 100. What is 6 multiplied by? My apologies, I've just realised I've made a mistake there. I haven't multiplied by 100 there, I've multiplied by 10. So I need to do that on the top there as well. My apologies. So 10 multiplied by 10 gives me 100. 6 multiplied by 10 gives me what? Well done if you said the answer is 60. So all of these fractions, you can see 3/5, 6 tenths, and 60 100ths are all equal to each other. I want you to pause the video and see if you can do the same for these bottom ones. Okay, welcome back. So let's have a go. So we are now working with 6/20ths. So what do I have to do to get from 20 to 10? Well done if you identified that this time I'm making it smaller. I have to make it smaller, and I'm making it smaller by a factor of 2. I'm dividing by 2. 20 divided by 2 is 10. Must do that to the top as well. And that's going to be 6 divided by 2 is 3. So 6/20ths is equal to 3 tenths. Now again, to get from my tenths to my hundredths, what do I need to do? Well, I need to multiply by 10. I'll remember this time that I'm multiplying by 10. Just move that up a little bit. 10 to 100, multiplying by 10. I need to do the same here. Multiply by 10. And 3 multiplied by 10, of course, is 30. Now, which of these fractions is greater? Is 3/5 greater, or is 6/20ths greater? Now, if I asked you that question at the beginning, it might not have been that easy for you to work out, but now you can see, because it's very easy for me to compare, for example, tenths, it's very easy for me to compare 6/10 and 3/10 and identify that 6/10 is more, much more, twice as many as 3/10. So therefore, this fraction, 3/5, is greater than 6/20. Here is a task for you to do then. Now, you don't have to do all of this task. You might want to just pick one or two, or just discuss with the person next to you how you can put some of these on this number line. Now, you will see that my number line begins at 0, starts at 1, and I have popped a half on here just to make it easier for you. I'm sorry, that little thing keeps popping up. A half there. So how many sections have I split it into at the bottom? Well, I've got how many at the top? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I split it into fifths. And at the bottom, I've split it into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I've split it into tenths. So some of these we might be able to instantly start to put on our number line. For example, we might be able to identify that 9/10 is going to go down here because it's 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of the tenths. So you can do that with the tenths and you can do that with the fifths, just identify where they would go on the number line. And then that last one, this is a challenge one, you are going to have to convert it into something first. So hopefully you had time there to pause the video. If you haven't, just do that now. Sorry, I forgot to say. And hopefully you've had time to just identify where these would go on the number line and have a think through of that or a talk through of that with someone at home. Now, here is your independent task today. What you are going to do, you'll see it in Google Classroom, of course. What you are going to do is, my apologies. What you need to do is move the fractions so they are on the number line. Now, the number line's been split up into lots of different sections. So you're going to have to work out what the sections are. Some of them are tenths, 20ths, hundredths, etc. What you need to do is drag and drop the fraction so it goes where you need to go. It's okay for it to be on the top or the bottom. It's absolutely fine. But for example, I could work out this one was half because it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Well, there's 10 sections there, and that's 5 of them there. So it's equal to a half. What you might want to do first is convert all of these to tenths or hundredths or whatever you think will make it easier for you, just to work out where they need to go. Okay, so I've given you these first two. There is a fifth and there's a half. Try and get them as accurately as possible. Now, those of you I know some of you are working on smartphones or some of you are working on tablets, and this might not be particularly easy. So just at least try and get them in the right order. Now, some of these fractions are equivalent to each other. Okay, so let's say I thought that a quarter was equivalent to a fifth. What you could do is just put it under there. It's not, please don't put it there because it's not, you need to work it out yourself, but you can put it underneath. Okay, so what you'll have is you'll have some fractions along the top and then any equivalent fractions level with them underneath. Okay, now, like I said, I know some of you are working on smartphones. I know some of you are working on tablets. So at least try and get them in the right order. If they're not 100% accurate, don't stress yourself. As long as they're going from smallest over here to greatest, and they're as accurate as you can get them. As always, let me know or Miss Lobo know on Google Classroom if you need any help.